I record live. Hopefully, it is going to stay my thing. All right. So, welcome to Real Estate Coffee Talk.
Years.
Cheers. You are, believe it or not, you're one of the only people that has brought coffee on the
You're
show.
serious?
Yes. One person brought tea, one person brought water, and I think maybe one person brought it was the guy I had last week. He brought coffee. But yeah, I'm surprised. I'm like, doesn't everyone drink 3 coffees a day?
I mean, I do. I know that for a fact. And keeping up with theme, I got an orange dye in my coffee
Oh, is it for Halloween?
for Halloween. The
Oh, I
barista did
mean,
it. It wasn't me. So
duh, duh. You like how I'm like, is it for Halloween? Why else would you have orange dye in your coffee?
all time.
Like, oh man, that is cool. I'm all with like everything celebratory and festive. We
Same,
had a
same.
skull riding with us. Like you have to make the most of it. Anyway,
You only have one
well,
life.
good. I'm glad that you are into coffee and you're as festive as I am,
Yeah.
judging by. If you are not watching on video, if you're on audio, you cannot see that Reid has probably the biggest collection of Hawaiian shirts I've ever seen in my life. And it's cold outside today, and he's got the Hawaiian shirt. So we are feeling the tropic vibes. It,
Always.
you can rock them. Most people cannot.
I
You
appreciate that.
you you can my husband wears them like random places, and my teenagers get so embarrassed. They're like, "Why is he wearing his tropical shirt?"
Hey, it's a
Haters.
good style. It's a good
I
style.
know. Haters gonna hate. Okay, so Reid, tell us a little bit about you, kind of your life, and then how you got into this whole mortgage industry, how long you've been in, your whole
Yeah.
story.
Cool. Yeah, I'm a pretty simple guy. I grew up playing soccer. That's all I really knew. I didn't have any plans besides going professional in soccer. That obviously did not pan out. And I fell into real estate mainly because my mom owns a boutique shop up in Maryland. So she was a real estate agent. So I think in 2016, I was actually, believe it or not, a real estate agent first. Long story short, I um I had a friend that was buying a house and we were giving him to our preferred lender at the time. He dropped the ball, so we were shopping around for different mortgage lenders, seeing who's going to be our go-to person. Came across this guy who ended up being my mentor, and he was a sweet talker, and basically was like, "Hey, you're young. This industry is a lot older. I think with my knowledge and your energy and your youth, I can mold you into a big producer." So at first I was like, no, I'm a real estate agent. I'm a real estate agent. And I mean, like I said, he's a smooth talker and eventually talked me to come into the mortgage side. And I think that was 2017 and haven't looked back since.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so I did not know this
Yeah.
about you. I can see it. First of all, I could see the soccer thing. Sorry it didn't work out. But
Oh, good.
all for the best.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so this is so cool because a lot of people aren't on both sides. So,
hmm
what are kind of like the main differences between, I mean, other than the obvious, but what have you found to be the main difference between the experience, and then why do you like the mortgage side better at this point?
Oof. To be completely honest, I wasn't as when I was an agent. I wasn't super committed yet. I was starting to get to that point, once I met that guy, and then obviously when I went to the mortgage side, I was full on into my career, if you will. The differences. I mean, in all reality, it comes down to, I don't know if I'm gonna get a lot of flack for this or not, but in all reality, the real estate agent is on the front line, spending their time showing the homes, etc. Being face to face with the client.
Right.
On the mortgage side, there's more paperwork, but I mean, for sure, more things that we need to look out for just to make sure everything is smooth sailing during the mortgage process or the home buying process. So I'd say the biggest difference is we ultimately can work from anywhere. If I'm being honest, it's just we need our laptop, obviously a cell phone, and we can help out anyone. Whereas the real estate agent kind of has to be on that front line, unless they have showing agents, of course. But that's kind of the difference in my opinion.
Right. Fun fact. So before I got licensed, I was deciding, I was leaving the job I was at, and my brother-in-law was in mortgage, and I'm like, mortgage actually to me sounded more tempting. I even
Really?
had, because we're marketers, Reed.
Sure.
I even had my Instagram handle picked out.
Mhm.
My URL. I didn't even have my mortgage license, but I was gonna be the mortgage mommy,
I
and,
like it.
um, and so I had my whole thing picked out, and then someone bought my URL, which is so rude,
Mm,
and then took it, but yeah, and then my husband, I shouldn't say bad things about, but he was like, "You're not gonna like mortgage, it's a lot of calling and this and that." And now that I've been in real estate for a while, I still think I would have actually liked the mortgage side a little bit better.
sure.
But what do you feel? Okay, so when it comes to like lead gen, which one is harder to kind of get those? Like, would you say mortgage is a lot more competitive? Which is harder? I've been dying to know this.
I mean, I think they're both the same. I mean, to be completely honest, at the end of the day, we're going after the same people. Obviously, we're trying to help the same people. I mean, I think they're one and the same, to be honest with you.
Okay.
Now, with that being said, again, I don't know if I'm going to get some flack for this, but with on the
And
mortgage
edit
side,
just in case.
yeah, it's gonna edit some of this out.
Yeah.
Um, with that being said, on the mortgage side, you know, consumers, typically home buyers or anyone thinking about buying a home, they're not typically coming to the mortgage professional first. Um,
Right.
in my opinion, it's because they just don't know better. They think, "Oh, I want to buy a house. Who can show me houses? Real estate agents." So, with that being said, as far as the marketing goes, and which is more difficult, I mean, we as mortgage professionals, I mean, go after real estate agents as well because they are getting the consumers first. Of course, we want to go direct to consumer as well, but ultimately, real estate agents, they hold that key, if you will, for
Right.
sure.
Yeah. So that was my thought because I'm like, man, so for realtors, there's really not as much friction between you and the consumer. Whereas for mortgage people, because I think you're right, when people think about buying a house, the first thing they don't think is get a pre-approval, right?
Right, right,
Especially if it's your first time around the block. So
exactly.
that's what my husband had been saying to me. But you know what? He's a hater. I think I would have liked this better.
Hater.
Right. So, okay, speaking of lead gen, you I think what your mentor said was right. It's been changing over the last few years, but it is
Mhm,
definitely an older kind of like was a male dominated, speaking of flat, kind of male dominated
mhm,
industry, right? But over the past few years, I would say since short form video came into play for sure, I've been seeing a lot more lenders that are really killing it or making it making kind of like their shtick being on video. And you've done a really good job of that. So what made you kind of like decide to use I think you use primarily video. I don't know what you were using before that, but what
mhm.
made you decide to go for video to market yourself?
So when I started in the mortgage business, it was one of those things I was kind of sitting around and I had no idea how to get clients, to be honest with you. Now my friends and I used to always make funny videos. I had a few that went viral before viral was viral
Yeah.
back in the day, and I just started to. I think it started with just doing random skits. I will tell you that because I was on the banking side of the mortgage business, and they had no idea what they got into when they hired me. I got in trouble for a few videos, just walking that line of being compliant.
Right.
But yeah, I mean, I think it ultimately boiled down to I wasn't exactly sure what to do, and I knew that going online you can capture more of an audience than walking down the street and having coffee with someone one on one, for example.
Oh,
Um,
absolutely. And I imagine that that's what makes the videos more challenging because what the rules that you guys have to stick to as far as what you put out there. My husband's not in mortgage, but he's in the financial industry, and there's his company's social media stuff is so whack. But it's
Mhm.
because they are held to such a strict set of rules and guidelines. So how have you managed to kind of walk that line now?
I'm like, um,
Or are you not?
I definitely teeter that line.
Yeah.
I kind of just do what I want, and if I get in trouble, then I'll tone it down, and go from there, honestly. But
Right.
I mean, I haven't. I've like I said, the first couple of videos, especially when I was on the banking side, because I'm on the broker side now. I
Yeah.
mean, still same compliant rules for the most part, but banking is I mean, they're a little more strict.
A
So
little more
they were
uptight.
watching my every move.
Yeah.
So I just put out what I put out. I try to be as compliant as possible, and if I have to take something down or change it, then I'll do that.
Right. Apologize. Apologize later, basically. Wink, wink. Okay. So, now I love what you said about having access to more eyeballs, right? Because this is what I talk to agents about all the time. I am fine if you go door knocking. Go for it. I don't that's great if like I don't care what works for people. If cold calling works for you, all that's fine. But when it comes to social media video, and I know even on your side, on the mortgage side, so many people are hung up on just getting on video, right? And I
Mhm.
get it. It makes them so anxious and all that stuff. But I'm like, when you post a video, right? Even if you don't get a lot, like I'll have people tell me, I only got 100 views. And I'm like, 100 sets of eyeballs. When have you ever had 100 people come into your open house?
Exactly.
Like it is such a great way to scale your marketing. And if you
Mhm.
want to do that other stuff, fine. But this is such a better way to access so many people. So once you got into specifically video, right? Like this TikTok type Instagram Reels world that we're in the past few years, did you notice like a sharp like increase in your business or at least your leads and all that?
Well, so I think one thing that people in our industry get wrong is that they think, they're doing the door knocking or the cold calling or whatever is working for them, and then now video is coming along and they're like, "Oh, I need to stop this and do, video."
Right.
My opinion is you need to supplement it with whatever you're doing. And I guess ultimately, um, to answer your question, I've gotten a few leads from
Mhm.
social media. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think more than anything, it creates a name for myself. So when I reach out to people, when I have conversation, whether it's friends, real estate agents, they already know who I am. So I've kind of anyone that I reach out to is it's not a cold touch, if
Right.
you will.
Yeah.
It's they know who I am, and they're more inclined to at the very least have some sort of conversation with me.
Yeah.
So
It's
that's kind of
brand
the way.
awareness. It's brand
Exactly.
awareness.
Exactly.
Like when I do social media for agents and some of them will say, well, how many leads do you think I'll get from this?
Exactly.
There's really no way when you're doing organic social media, there's no way to really quantify it. And even though
Exactly.
you said you've gotten a few leads, you may have gotten people who have called you that you have no idea they saw
Exactly.
your social
Or
media
and
content.
and to dive deeper into that, it also should be looked at as it's like it's a library of it's your resume. I mean, that's what it boils down to because when people, hear your name or they get a recommendation to go to, Reid McKee or whoever,
Yeah.
they're gonna Google you, and more than likely your social media is gonna pop up, so they're gonna go see what you're about. So it should, that ultimately should be in the back of people's mind as well.
Right, right. And if you think about this younger generation, I mean, you're younger than I am, but even these younger people coming up, like my son's about to graduate from high school. That generation going forward when they get into the home buying age, they're going to be Googling everyone and getting to know them before
Mhm.
they even give them a call. I mean,
Exactly.
that's even the way I operate. I don't
Mhm.
want like this
Same.
awkward,
Yeah.
you don't want like an awkward relationship. So you're going to find out about them beforehand. And
Yep.
having that library, you're so right. It's so important. Like I had a video recently do really well I mean, not Reed McKee level well, but
Oh, no. You have 10,000 followers. Congratulations, by the way.
you have like 100. So
That's
That's a whole thing.
That's
But
insane.
but really it's crazy how social media works, right? And especially like
Mhm.
Instagram, right? Which is quickly becoming my new favorite platform because
Yep.
I was kind of killing myself every day I was challenging myself to post a video every single day. I was trying to make
Mhm.
them relevant. And some of them, you know how it is, some of them I was like, this is the one. This one is gonna work. And it would flop. And
Yep.
then I did the one about the chat GPT templates that I pretty much thought everyone knew about. And it got, it's like 550,000 views now. But more importantly, it gave me a ton of followers, but what I noticed was that people were liking it, and then I was starting to get a bunch of engagement on the videos that I had been
Other
doing like the
videos.
last 6 months, right?
Exactly.
Because it was there. And I had read some social media person saying that, yeah, you're going to kind of chip away at it, but when you do start getting this like when you do start getting like a lot more traffic and all that, you want to have content that they can go back to and kind of
Exactly.
binge. And
Exactly.
that's exactly what happened. And I got from all those views, I got so many like lead for marketing, of course, but so many like leads and extra business just from now there's a lot more eyeballs on my content. So
Yeah.
I love
And
that.
yeah, 100%. And what I always tell people is, because if you look at my mortgage stuff, I mean, it doesn't get there's some videos that get more engagement than others, but
Yeah.
what I always tell people is it does not matter how many people view it, how many people like it, because more times than not, people that have reached out to me, or if I'm out and about with my friends and they say, "Oh, I love your videos," I know for a fact that they've never liked a video, but they're seeing it still.
Exactly.
But it's top of mind, and yeah, I always tell people not to worry about the views and likes and all that good stuff.
No, it's really about who's watching, and the funny thing is, and we've talked about this, you and I, but also on a number of these videos, is that they're building so many people are building a relationship with you without you knowing you're
Exactly.
building a relationship back with them. Just I mean, it's kind of a creepy comparison, but how people think they know Kim Kardashian or Beyonce,
Mhm.
whatever, because they're following all these people and they know everything about them, but Beyonce doesn't know anything about me,
Right.
right?
Right.
So that's so true. And that's exactly what it is. It's brand awareness and staying top of
Mhm.
mind. And it just takes commitment. But of all the forms of marketing, I just think video is the most powerful.
Yep.
Do you agree? Okay.
I agree
Good.
100%. I mean, because like you said, if someone gets 100 views, where else can they go to get 100 eyeballs,
Right.
um, on their video or on
Right.
on them, I should say.
Right. Right. So, okay, the one I want to ask you, well, let me ask this first question. Sorry. What of because the content you're going to be putting out is a little bit different than what a agent would put out. So, the content that you put out, what do you find works the best?
My skits, the
Yeah.
skits absolutely work the best without a doubt, because
Are
it's
they are they, like, related to mortgage, or are they just humorous aside?
they're humorous, and I mean, they're related not necessarily directly to mortgage, but in some way, shape, or form, real estate.
Right,
So
right.
what I like to do, or what want to try to do, is find a balance between educating someone and giving them value while still entertaining.
Yeah.
Because I think those videos are going to be a hit for sure.
Yeah, and you do such a good job of that, and one of the things we've talked about with you, or I've told people about your content as well is, when we talk about these coffee dates, right? So many lenders reach out to agents. Oh,
Hmm.
let's schedule lunch, let's schedule coffee, especially now that things have dipped a little bit. And I do very little volume in real estate now because this is me. And I've had lenders reach out to me as if I'm some top. I'm like, you probably don't want to waste your Starbucks on me because I think I
Hey,
did like four
take
this
it.
year. But they're reaching out, which I get it what they're doing, but I think what's so valuable about your content is you provide content that you always tell realtors, "Hey, go ahead and share this. Like this isn't
Mhm.
I'm not kind of gatekeeping. Go ahead and share this," which allows then the realtors who may not have the time or the creative energy, because not everyone thinks like you're really creative with that, right?
Thank
But
you.
it allows them to look smart and knowledgeable and all that
Mhm.
to their buyers and sellers now.
Right.
So is that kind of your strategy when you're creating this content?
Yeah, 100%. So, I mean, ultimately, I want to give the most value, because I mean, like I said earlier, the agents are the ones that get in front of the consumers typically before we as lenders do. So, how can I help them with their business to ultimately have more conversations with consumers? And I mean, really, the my strategy, my game plan is again to give as much value as possible. And put out as much valuable content as possible. That way, when I do reach out, they again, it's not a cold touch. They kind of know who I am and what I'm about, and they like the information I share, etc. So it kind of all falls into place.
Right. And it's funny, like I told you, I've had clients, real estate clients who have sent me posts of yours without knowing I know you. They think, I mean, you are, they think you're like this mortgage celebrity on Instagram, right? And it's so funny. They're like, this guy has the best stuff. I want to do something like this. And I'll be like, I know Reid. Don't worry. I'll ask him.
Yeah,
I'll ask him if it's okay. But I know you're
yeah.
also like, you'll post stuff and be like, hey guys, feel free to use it.
Yeah, because I
And
don't want I don't want it to be where it's I'm again, I wanna give them the most value, and if someone wants to take the stuff and market it to their database or their email, I mean, that's completely cool with me. I don't want it branded to me or my company because, I think that's, I don't know, I don't know why I do it that way. I think it's better, you
well,
know?
and you are your brand. So having
Right.
like your company's logo and all that, that's, you have become your own brand. So
Exactly.
you can send them all this content. Hey, share away. Obviously, they can't be Reed McKee, right?
Sure.
They're
Right.
sharing it for them. But I just love it because I think it helps them so much. And it's also that principle of reciprocity. Like
Mhm.
I think people look back and they're like, "Oh, Reid really helped me. Maybe I can send him send him a lead or 2." And,
Right.
over time that's really powerful. So, I love that. So, well, I was gonna ask you about cold calling agents for coffee, but your strategy when you're connecting with agents, is it largely social media based, or what else do you do to connect with agents?
So I try so yes, I mean, that's the big, big part of my strategy again is to give as much legitimate value as
Yeah.
possible. Sorry about that.
Okay.
Mm,
Good morning, doggies.
yeah, lovely. I just ruined your
No, you
podcast.
did not.
Oh my goodness.
It's either dogs or kids or everyone is working at home, so it's not
Yeah, gotta
ruining
gotta love it.
it.
The mailman came early today.
Oh my
Um,
gosh, I love it.
But yeah, I mean, that's the massive, massive part of my strategy is give as much value, and then when I do reach out, let's say, because again, when I do reach out, it's not from, hey, let me tell you about our loan programs or, what have you. I truly, truly want to find a way to collaborate with someone. I want to
Right,
work with people of the same mindset that want to do video, want to put out educational content and funny content. To be honest with you,
right,
I mean, that's just my personality, um, and,
right,
um, and just
which is
build a
why we get
relationship
along.
that way. Yeah, exactly, exactly. So just build a relationship that way from a value standpoint, like, "Hey, how can we collab?" And then, of course, ultimately, people are gonna work with who they like. So if we hit it off, then start to build a business relationship and kinda take it from there.
Yeah, and I've seen posts where you're going out of your way to say, "Hey, who's, not afraid to do these kind of videos? I'll come to your open house. I'll do this, I'll do that." Like you're always looking for collaborations
Mhm.
and you're looking to go outside the kind of 9 to 5 lender box to kind of build these relationships, and in turn it helps the agents, right? If they have,
Exactly.
let's be honest, for a lot of people it's easier to do a funny video with someone than by yourself.
Oh, 100%.
um so I kind of love that part of your strategy. Like you're always looking for new ways to collaborate with people but help them at the same time, now
Exactly.
they have this great video that they can show their audience. So I
Right.
love that. Okay. So talking about the snooze fest part of mortgage, most, things have changed, right? Things have slowed down. And although agents put out this stuff like marry the house, date the rate, or this is what your house payment will look
Mhm.
like when the rates drop and all that stuff. First of all, that's hard for people to understand, really. I think
Right.
people who aren't in this industry, it just maybe it's just me. I'm not good at math, but I just look at those posts like it's just a whole lot of numbers, and it hurts my brain, right? But agents are nervous about these interest rates, and I get it. It's hard to
Mhm.
market. It's hard to believe that it's a good time for everyone to buy,
Sure.
specifically people who are already locked into houses at, 2.5, 3% interest rates, right?
Right.
That's the hard part. So, what are some ideas you have for realtors to market what's going on in the industry as more of an opportunity without being like a used car salesman? And
Yeah, and I mean, come the way that I would handle that is go off of data. I mean, that's really what it's about. I mean, because we have nothing else. I mean, if you're putting out content, I mean, there should be some sort of facts backed by it. And what I mean by that is, for example, I mean, we're hitting a stride, a period of time that's never happened in history, to where the most millennials ever are hitting that prime home buying age.
right.
So what does that mean? Yes, rates are high, but when they do inevitably come down, whenever that may be, the demand is there. So anyone that's saying the housing is gonna crash, for example, it's all about supply and demand. And if you look at the facts and start to educate yourself and read data, then you're gonna see that the demand does not look like it's gonna go anywhere. So how I would
Yeah.
handle marketing is just put out those facts, like let people know that I mean, because a lot of people, the news, for example, they're selling doom and gloom that the rates are high, there's a bubble, and
Right.
again, if you step back and look at the data, that's just not that's just not there. So educating people on the numbers, the stats, and again the data, I think that's everyone's best bet right now for
Right,
sure.
and that's the most sensical I don't know if sensical is a word, but that's the most sensical, marketing that I've
I like that.
seen come out of this is because the marry the house, date the rate thing was annoying because at this point, that's a long-term relationship with a crappy boyfriend, right?
Right,
Now we've been in this for a while,
right,
but the data is we are still millions and millions of homes short on inventory.
right,
There's just not
exactly.
enough. And then, yeah, you have all these buyers that even if they can't buy right now. So I think like if you don't own a house, it's still a good time. You just lock yourself in as long as you can afford that payment,
Right.
just lock yourself in, right? But yeah, like you have this huge backup of buyers that even if they can't buy now, I had someone get pre-approved for a $300,000 house, and this was before rates went over 8%, and her payment was gonna be $2,700. I
Mhm.
was like, "Oh god, it makes me sick."
Yeah.
But yeah, if you can do it, do it. I find the harder part about this is so in one of these Facebook groups, this guy posted a chat that he had with a lead, right? So
Mhm.
it's like his AI, basically his bot, was chatting with this guy.
Gotcha.
He was like, "Hey, I know that you were interested in moving. That was a few months ago.
Mhm.
Are you still interested?" The guy responded back like, basically, "I would move, but I'm in 3% right now, so he don't want to move that bad."
Right.
And I'm curious to know your thoughts on this, right? Because it was funny to see all the comments from agents because I was kind of like, this is why people hate realtors sometimes, right? Because
Right.
a lot of them were like pulling out their scripts, well, why wouldn't you do this? And if you do that, basically finding all the ways around trying to make this guy give up a 3% for an 8%. And unless you have to or you really, really want to, it's hard to convince someone
Yeah,
to do that.
exactly. Yeah.
And sometimes you just have to be honest, right? And be like, "Hey, man, I get it. I
Right.
wouldn't sell either." Uh,
Right.
like in your work, because you're dealing with people, you're telling them these numbers, and maybe they're not even getting the sticker shock until they come to you. How are you having those conversations?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
ultimately, it starts with what their goal is. Why do they wanna move? If they don't need to move, then, I mean, to be completely honest, there might not be a point. Now, if
Yeah.
someone wants to move because they need a bigger home because their family's growing, they need to move for work or whatever the case is, then I like to run the numbers based off, okay, what if you keep this property as um, a long-term rental and lease it out? That way we can exclude the payment, depending on what you can get for it on rent, and kind of
Right.
come at it with that angle.
Yeah.
So I mean, it really ultimately everyone's situation is a little bit different, but it ultimately boils down to what their goal is. If they're just kind of looking around because they want to, then I mean, might not make a whole lot of sense. So I think
Right.
finding that not pain point, but that reasoning for why they're entertaining moving, and kind of taking the conversation from there.
Right. And also like if they have to move, cuz for example, if I had to move for work right now, I'd be mad giving up my interest rate too.
Yeah.
But I love that you can kind of talk them through options. I wish I used to have a townhouse that I bought for like $140,000 and then I moved. I wish I had a lender. So this was before I was in real estate. It was one of those internet lenders. I'm embarrassed
Oh,
to even
no. Oh, no,
say it,
you
but it
didn't.
was
No, you didn't.
I know it was one of those. I don't they were terrible. They effed up our whole closing, and basically we had to stay in a hotel for 5 days, like, that's how bad this
Right.
whole thing was. But, um, uh, like, one thing I wish because you don't know what you don't know. I
Mhm.
didn't grow up with my parents owning a home. I have no idea about how all this stuff works, and since I wasn't in real estate, definitely didn't know. But I love what you said about giving the person options because when
Mhm.
I was selling my own house to move in with my boyfriend at the time, who's now my husband. But I I didn't need to sell to buy. I just thought that's what you do.
Right.
And now I'm like, I wish that that person would have said, "Hey, here are like a few different ways," and they help you build wealth rather than just,
Exactly.
selling the house.
Right.
S-
W
And yeah, go ahead.
Well, there's order takers in the mortgage business, order takers and mortgage advisors. So it's in my opinion tremendously important to find a mortgage advisor so they give you your options, so they explain the process to you instead of an order taker saying, for example, for you, it's hey, I'm looking to buy. I mean, the obvious thing is okay, sell. That's the easiest. There's no thought process behind that for the mortgage
Right,
lender.
right.
So finding someone that's going to deep dive into your unique situation and again give you all the options.
You need to make a video about that. That
Yeah,
that's that's such a good video because people don't know what they don't know, right?
exactly.
So when they're just let's be honest, for the most part, people find these internet lenders because they don't want to they're afraid to fill out a form or make a call because they don't want the pressure of, oh, now I have this mortgage guy calling me. They kind of want to find out the information before they talk to anybody. And that's kind of how that happens. But if you look at it from that aspect, like, hey, yeah, you could deal with this order taker is just going to get the transaction done, or you can work with someone who knows about all this stuff. And maybe someone who knows finance stuff, they don't need that, whatever. But a lot
Sure.
of people don't know the ins and outs and all these things that you can do within the mortgage world or your
Yep.
finances that would seek out more of an if I would have seen a video like that, I would have called you.
Yep.
'Cause I would bound this guy can help me really make a good decision.
Right.
Also, the same thing goes for realtors, right? There are now that I've been in real estate, I'm like, man, there are people who are just like they're just transaction coordinators.
Hmm.
And then there are people who are like really committed. They'll fight for you. They'll go knock on doors to find a house that's not for sale. And yeah, like there's a difference.
Yep.
So
100%.
gosh, that's a good video for you. Okay.
I'm
So
gonna make
let's
it.
get yes, please do. So that let's get to the fun part. So you are if you can't see Reid McKee here, even just by hearing his name, you could probably guess he's not Latino. So he's just, just a white guy.
Yeah.
Sorry.
No, it's all
That's a
good.
nice way to say
Hey,
that.
that's what I
I
say.
I have a friend that posted a meme yesterday, and and it said, "I just got my DNA results back." And then it was like a sorted cracker. It had a picture of a sorted crackers.
That's funny.
I don't know why I thought that was so funny. But okay, so you're just a white guy. So, but what I love is that starting in, I believe you said March, you are going to be taking on Spanish.
April.
April, okay.
Mhm.
You'll go by March, you'll be pretty much there. You're gonna
Yeah.
be taking on Spanish speaking mortgage clients full time. And you already speak fluent Spanish, but I guess real estate, I mean mortgage terms are different. But I love this about you. So tell us why you decided to learn Spanish, what your process was, and
Mhm.
why you speak more Spanish than me, and I am Puerto Rican. Go for it.
Yeah, so just to clarify, so April is the goal. So I have a long way to go. I'll be honest. I speak very broken Spanish. So I got with my tutors and was like, hey, this is the goal that I have. I'm about to buckle down and let's make it happen. But why I started learning Spanish? I mean, I've always wanted to. I grew up in a predominantly Hispanic area. I played soccer. A lot of my friends spoke Spanish. My
Right.
mom, at one point when I was growing up, she started learning Spanish and started talking to me and my siblings
Yeah.
in Spanish. So I don't. It's always been a goal, and then I think because I've been learning for a year and 2 months or so,
Yeah.
and I think it just clicked because it's one of those things to where oh yeah I'll get to it, I'll get to it. So I think someone passed away that I saw, like a friend's family member, someone really really young, and
Right.
started thinking like you only have one life, like do what you want to do now.
Right.
And Spanish was again has always been something that I've wanted to do, and it's one of those things that it's only going to get better with time. So I started to jump into it and haven't looked back, honestly. And as far as the process goes, I have a tutor from Mexico who I've had for the entire year and 2 months, and I just got a second tutor last month from Colombia. So I have the Colombian tutor in the mornings, and then the every single day, and then the my Mexican tutor is about 3 or 4 days a week at night.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome. Wait, so solve a urban legend for me. Is your wife Colombian?
No,
Someone
I
someone was like, I think his wife is Colombian. I was like, really?
no. So I get that all the time
His
because
wife.
I'm infatuated with the Colombian culture. I could not even begin to explain why. But I'm the type
I
of
love it.
person, once I get hooked on something, I'm just absolutely
Yeah.
obsessed and hooked. So it's always been Colombia for whatever
Yeah.
reason, and I get that question all the time, "Is your wife Hispanic?" And "Is she from Colombia?" So,
Oh,
no.
yeah, that's well, people believe that 'cause we were talking about you. I was like, "I just wonder what made him wanna learn Spanish." I mean, I just think it's so cool, and I'm ashamed of myself, and they're like, "Well, his wife is Colombian," and I was like, "Must like, I've seen a picture of her." I mean, I know Colombians come in every shape and color, but I was like, "I don't remember him sing."
Nope.
So,
Yep.
tell your wife she is a little spicy Colombian now to
Yeah.
everybody else.
Oh, yeah,
Cool.
I'll let her
That's
know for sure.
that's the perfect culture to be, I mean, I get it, to be, obsessed with. I mean, it's such a rich culture, and, like, the whole Hispanic culture is just so warm and, like,
Yeah.
I just love it. So, okay, so when it comes to real estate, even though I know you want to learn it for you, which is
Mhm.
pretty much why I want to learn. I grew up and my grandma's she was from Puerto Rico, but she spoke to us mostly in English. So
Mhm.
with the concentration in my family was like act as white as you can, right? So we didn't learn it. And then when you're young, then I feel stupid. It's like you don't want to practice. But now that I'm same thing, I'm like, man, I only have one life. And honestly, Reed, not kidding, seeing you do all this stuff inspired me. I'm like, I gotta
Well, that's
I
awesome.
gotta get it together and be fluent. This is ridiculous that I'm not yet. But for the business, so I know you want to do that on a personal level.
Mhm.
But
Yep.
on the business side, Hispanics, I should know these stats from being a NAREP, but I think they're like the fastest growing minority when it comes to home ownership.
Mhm.
But they are the minority at the bottom when it comes to knowledge about finances, like how much they talk about finances. Now, of course, that's getting better year over year, but huge potential in this market as
Yep.
far as being a bilingual realtor.
Mhm.
So How are you, like, prepping for that?
Well, so I do a mortgage analysis with all of my clients. So
Yeah,
I'm definitely because my Spanish teacher is always urging me like, hey, like try to get clients that speak Spanish. I'm like, no, you don't understand. Like I do a deep dive, so I need to know the lingo. I need to know the ins and outs of everything. So I'm starting to study the real estate lingo. It is a completely different world than what I've been learning. So
right.
getting used to that and being able to give someone that speaks Spanish a full deep dive, same thing with English, just a
Yeah,
full on mortgage analysis to where they understand the entire process. And it's again, it's very, very in depth. So I have my like I said, I had talked to my tutors and told them this is my goal and yeah, we have a short time to do it. So we'll see what
oh,
happens. But
man, I think you're gonna get there, and I mean, worst case, you can always, partner with someone for help, or maybe if you have, like, that
yeah, of
I mean,
course.
typically, if someone's bringing a Spanish-speaking client, it's going to be a Spanish-speaking agent, so
Right.
there's some it may be a tiny bit of fake it till you make it, but, to me, you are fluent already.
Oof, yeah, I appreciate it.
I
I don't
love
feel
it.
like it's that I get nervous when I talk to people still, so I have that to conquer as well.
Right,
But
and
I will
certain
say,
cultures talk a lot faster. Like, I feel like a
girl,
lot of Mexicans, they're more like, "¿Cómo estás?" Like, they enunciate everything, whereas
mhm,
if you speak to, like, a Dominican or Puerto Rican, they'll come to me and they'll be like, "Ah, ¿cómo está?" Like, "How can I find something?" And I'll give them an answer, and then they're like, I'm like, "Wait,
oh yeah,
my
oh
brain.
yeah. So,
Sorry,
yeah, and I
cut
go
you
into
off."
conversations knowing that and then just kind of subconsciously being scared of it. So
Right,
that's something else that I need to conquer along with obviously the real estate lingo. But
right.
I mean, I definitely agree with you. Massive, massive opportunity there, and I mean, because I never full on have advertised that I would speak Spanish to Spanish speaking clients, but
Yeah,
I cannot tell since I've marketing, I market my journey and I mean, I have made some mortgage videos in Spanish.
right.
Um, I can't even tell you how many leads I've gotten just from saying, "Hey, you speak Spanish. Can you take on this client?" I'm like, "No, I don't speak Spanish yet." I mean, it's crazy. Like people have
Yes.
reached. I mean, it's been at least 20 people since I marketed. Or I'm
Wow.
sorry, not marketed, but
Yeah.
started documenting my journey.
Right. And it's what we were talking about before, like appearance is reality, right?
Mhm.
So you're putting yourself out there, talking about all that stuff. And I mean, you go in, you have the neon sign that
Yeah.
says, what does it
Que
say?
chimba, que
Chimba.
chimba.
Yeah. And then you have, I mean, you got the whole thing going on. Plus, you have the Papacito Gringo Instagram account, which I'm obsessed with. And everyone else is obviously because you have a ton of followers. But yeah, all that stuff, I think people also would, if you think about people coming here, a big part of what my grandmother dealt with. I mean, obviously this was a long time ago, but even as my dad and his siblings were growing up, was like speaking Spanish was like, you're in America, speak English, right? And that was in New York, right? So imagine
Mhm.
down here. But I love that you're kind of flipping the script on that, and
Yep.
you're like so people love to see is just like, quote unquote white guy who really wants to be a part of this culture
Mhm.
and be kind of like one of them and serve that community is so
It's
awesome.
yeah, it's crazy. I mean, yeah, it's been
Oh,
awesome. Yeah, I'm excited to see what happens, but definitely shooting for April
oh
for
yeah,
sure.
you'll get there. That's you have 5
6
months.
months. Yep, 5 months. Yep, 5
You're
months.
gonna I'm not nervous for you at all. I think you
Appreciate
got
it.
it.
Thank
So you'll be fine. Oh my gosh. Okay, so tell everyone where to follow you. I'm gonna put it in the comments and stuff when it goes, but tell them where they can find you and connect with you online.
Yeah, I'd say 2 of the biggest places would be Facebook, Reid McKee, and then Instagram at the Reid McKee. Yeah,
Yes.
the Reid
And,
McKee.
he really follow him if you're in realtor or if you're a mortgage because you will get inspiration as far as your content, and I know he's always willing to share so that you can obviously share with your audience, so he's a really big value add for your business. Go ahead and find him on there. And then let's do some rapid fire questions that are different than
Ooh.
real estate. Let's do okay. Netflix or podcast?
Netflix.
Interesting. I'm a podcast girl, as you can tell.
I like podcasts too, so that's a
I
tough
know,
one.
yes, but if you had to choose one, yes. Okay. I can guess this from what you're drinking, but iced coffee or hot coffee?
Iced coffee, for
Okay.
sure.
And then let's see. I was gonna think of two. Are pupusas Colombian? Arepas?
No, I think they're, mostly
Peruvian.
Els Peruvian, El
Oh,
Salvadorian,
yes. Well, what just tell us what's your favorite Colombian meal?
bandeja paisa.
Oh, you need to go up. If your family's still up north, you need to go to New Jersey. They have this, it's kind of a chain, but local to Jersey, I think. And it's
Mhm.
called Noches de Colombia.
Mm.
And oh my gosh, it's about like the plate is this big,
Oh, yeah.
and they have like, I mean, it's a lot, it's a lot of meat for the morning, but every different type of meat, then eggs, then potatoes, like this whole thing for breakfast.
Really?
Yes.
See,
No,
you said
look
that's in New Jersey?
in New Jersey, yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Noches de Colombia. Yeah, I mean, at least look up their Instagram
Oh, I
so you
definitely
can
will.
just see
I love yeah,
or their website, whatever, because
big
my
foodie.
friend introduced me to it last time I was there, and I was like, "This is I'm glad I don't live here because I would be here all the time." Oh
Oh,
my gosh, I love it. Well, thank you so much. I seriously appreciate you coming on. Go ahead and
yeah, thank you for
follow
having me.
Reid. Yes, he will give you a lot of great content to share with your audience, and I will see you soon.
Yeah, thank you.
Adios.
Adios.
All right.